What's up, guys? So a lot of you have been asking me to do some tutorials on how to edit my photos and stuff, so that's what we're gonna do. Just jump right into it and I'll show you some photos that I took the other day at a car show, and we'll talk about some edits and hopefully it'll help. So let's do it. So here are the photos I took the other day. I was kind of just vibing that whole time, to be honest with you. I really wasn't being intentional with my photos. So a lot of these I won't be able to use for content. So I figured I'd use it here. All right, so first thing I do whenever I get a photo is I try my best to line it up to be straight. And I just want to show you something right here, right? So usually I would line it up to this pole right here, but watch what happens when I try to do that. Like the ground isn't level. You see this, like it's coming downwards this way. So this kind of just looks dumb actually. This is one of those instances where you kind of just have to play it by ear and make sure the car is where we're sitting at nicely and that it's flattering to the eye, which even this is a little too high. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna try my best to make it exactly how I would want it to be. And it's looking like close to right there, right? Just about there is like where I'm like, all right, we're chilling. And I'm actually going to make this a 9:16 with how long the car is. I think that would look really cool with the owner sitting here as well. I like that look a lot more. So when it comes to exposure, I like to underexpose a lot of my photos if I'm not going to use a lot of highlights. So that's what I did here. But then I raise that exposure up a good bit. And what I'm going to do in this photo is I'm actually going to use the dehaze feature. And look at how much shine that brings into the car. So that's something I use all the time, just to really get a good paint color or a good shine color when it's not a bunch of sunlight happening. And I'll show you the before and after. It's here to here. Like look at the paint. Can I zoom in on this? Like look at this paint. It's the perfect like real color that it came from factory with. And the only issue with dehaze is that when you look at all of this back here, everything becomes super contrasty. Like my man's skin is not this dark. Like my man's skin right here should not be that color. Or even the sky, like it changes things outside of the photo, but the subject itself looks really good. So an easy way to fix that is to just come through, do a nice little radial filter, come in this way, and we'll actually take away some contrast, moving away from the car, which you would think is like, that's the opposite of what we need to do, but I'm going to show you why I do this in a second. So we're going to take away some contrast, add some black, and then from here I'm going to choose the background, and then I'm going to add a little bit of contrast, a little bit, but then I'm going to bring that dehaze actually back up. Where is the dehaze? Oh, it's down here. I'm going to bring some of that dehaze actually back up, and I'm going to bring all of that I took away from the car. I'm going to bring all that back. So now the car still looks good, the background looks good, and then I do it kind of backwards, but then now I come back and I can actually come back to here and then figure out what contrast level I want based on that, what black level I want based on that, and the temperature as well. So if I was going to do a really natural looking edit, like this is what I would do, right? So it looks like I just brought the brightness up, and that's pretty much all you need to do. So if I wanted to like go a little more, I would put this linear in here, drop that down a good bit. I'd bring some light coming down from the sky, put the exposure up a little bit, probably make it a little yellow, to be honest, just a tad bit like that. Bring those blacks down for some contrast, add a little bit more contrast. Even the shadows, I like stuff coming through a lot. The whites, just like that. And then actually I kind of want this to not be from the top, but I want it to be coming from this angle, kind of like this, all the way down to the car. So this is something that I would give someone as like if I was doing a very quick edit, right? Like it'd be from there to there. Not a huge difference, but just enough to where you can tell like this is a nice car. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's move on to another one. All right, so we're gonna look at this photo of these Corvettes leaving. I thought this was a really good photo. It could have been much better, but I was in the wrong spot at the wrong time, so I didn't really get the best angles. But so I like the long view for this because there's a lot of wasted space up here. So I'm gonna go with the 16:9. Let's just see what that looks like. The ground is kind of crooked, the horizon, so we're just going to bring that up. I don't know if you know, but if you hit O, once you're in the crop menu, you can change all of these options. So what I'm going to do is going to make this one to here. I'm looking at the light poles right here to try to kind of give me a gauge on what it's supposed to look like, but I also want to make sure that the Corvettes all look like they're going in a straight line. So I think this is pretty close. We might change it later, but I'm going to start off by bringing some exposure. Everything is pretty dark. I don't want to go too high to take away from the highlights, but we're going to bring up that exposure, bring down the highlights so we can see the sky a little more. I'm going to bring some dehaze in there. You can see that's making it cooler, but I like how crisp this is, and then like you can see how in focus this car is, and then obviously we start to get blurry over here. My fault, I should have had it a higher aperture, but that's all good. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring some of that yellow back into it a little bit, make it a little warmer. And then from there, I'm actually going to make a radial filter that's just going to span the that's going to go across every single one of these Corvettes. Not too wide, but just wide enough. And then I'm going to invert it. Make sure it's covering what I want it to. And then I'm going to bring a bunch of contrast. Just like that. Keep those highlights away. I don't want these clouds to go crazy over here. Bring some blacks in. Just like that. All right, cool. So then now let's fix this sky. I'm going to do that with a filter coming down. I'm actually going to take some haze away just to make those clouds kind of get choppy. Perfect. Bring it down a little bit. Add a little bit of exposure. See how you kind of have that mist look now? And then even those highlights, take it down just a tad bit, and we might even make it a little bit more yellow just so it looks like the sun is coming through. And then to make that even more, I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. Okay, I like to go 12 usually. I thought it might be too much, but to 12, and we're going to make another radial filter, and it's going to act as sunlight. So we're going to have it like right here, and we're just going to come back, and we're going to make this real yellow and a little brighter. And that definitely looks like the sun is coming through that side now. And then we want to take some of the exposure away from the ground over here. Just like that. Perfect. All right, cool. So let's see where we're at so far. We went from this to this. We're adding just a lot of dynamic range. So now we're going to select the subject. Let's see how it does selecting cars. That's really not that bad. That's really not that bad. I'm going to subtract just a little bit from over here. Sweet. And then I'm going to raise the exposure just a tad bit, but then also a lot on the shadows, right? So the shadows, bring the blacks down, bring the highlights down, and then even more shadows. And that's a picture that I'm dealing with. Nice. So I like that a lot. There's definitely things that, you know, could be better. Like even with, you know, for example, like all of this here, like maybe the sun isn't the look, right? I can come down and I can make that more cool to like take that away. I personally like that. I like how it just adds a little bit of mystery to the whole photo. Like that's kind of like what my style. I like to play with the natural elements to see what can happen. Some people like it a lot darker. Like some people would have this exposure down like this, you know, to make it look more sunsetty. That's just really not my vibe that much. Sometimes it is, but when I don't have it like dialed in the way that I didn't for this photo, I'm just chilling with this. So again, here is the after, here is the before. It's not a crazy edit. The colors of the cars, like look at the colors of the cars. They look relatively the same. They're a little brighter, a little more vibrant, but I'm not changing like anything wild. So yeah, take it how you wish. Let's do another one. Let's go to, all right, so we're gonna do one more photo, and we chose this right here. Such a clean car, bro. The suicide doors, ooh, so good. But so pretty much whenever I try to do interior shots, I try to keep it very tight. So I try to do like 50 mil, like 85 mil, even like 70, which is weird because other people do the opposite. They like to do the 24s, the 16s, the 30s. But for me, I feel like when you go long, it allows so much extra foreground and so much like background. So anyway, in this photo right here, I love everything about it, except there's a lot going on in the background, which is fine, but I like the highlights that are coming through right here. So I just know that whenever we go through this, we're going to keep those there. So again, I'm going to bring up those I'm going to bring up the exposure, and you can see all those highlights going crazy. So when I bring that dehaze down, oh, that is nice. Look at that. Just from literally highlights and dehaze, look at all of that. And when we bring back some of that warm color, oh my goodness, it's just so nice. And we're going to bring those highlights down a little bit more to show the sun kind of glowing right there. Again, before and after, such a game changer, such a game changer. So now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to bring a a linear gradient down this way. And all it's going to be is, again, a little bit more of that warm color. Actually, I'm going to turn it this way a little bit. I just want to make sure people see that the sun is actually coming through and not just me being crazy. So then we're going to add a little bit of haze just so we can have it coming through like this. You see the difference that makes? Like a lot of haze, not a lot of haze. So I'm just bringing that in just a little bit, and we're going to be all right. We going to be all right. All right, so then we're going to add a little bit of exposure again, like right there. And then shadows are coming up like crazy. I like to add a lot in the shadows and bring the blacks down. I think it gives a much richer look. And then actually I want to take a brush, and I'm going to just tap all through here, because I would like to add a lot of highlights here actually. I'd like to add the highlights and still bring some of those blacks down just a little bit to show how rich that black actually is. And then I think when you do that, you can actually play with those whites as well to really get the shine, because I want the shine right here to match the shine right here. So for example, if I brought these whites low, like it just looks very dull. If I go this much, it's a little bit too much, but if I can bring it down to like right there, it's just, there's a lot of like chrome that's hitting you really hard in the face, which is what that's the look I'm trying to go for. So far we have, this is the before, this is the after. Super simple stuff. I'm not doing anything wild. I'm just being intentional with what I choose to do. So another thing is I kind of want to add a little bit more warmth in all of this leather too. So I'm going to just do that just a tiny bit, not a lot, just enough for a little, like a little French kiss. That's not the word I'm looking for. What is it? French kiss is like making it, what is it? Oh, gosh, English. Chef's kiss. All right, so let's go with saturation. We have here, and this is where it gets tricky, but I think because it's possible, I want to take the shadows and I want to add some color to those shadows. So I'm going to go to this slider right here, and you can see if I like grab somewhere, I can literally change the color of all these shadows, right? You want to do this as little as possible because it can just be a lot. So I'm going to come through and I'm going to try to actually do a little bit of this blue that's already in the car. I'm just going to bring it down just a tiny bit. So like that's even a little bit, but that's too much. I'm going to bring it back just a little bit, like right there. And then I'm going to undo that with the highlights by putting it on this yellowish, and then I'm going to bring that really low as well. And that gives me just a nice little blue fighting yellow type of glare, which I really freaking like. And then a lot of people will then just like change the midtones to whatever they want. So for example, if you wanted it super like warm, you could put like midtones somewhere over here and it just looks like sunset. Or if you wanted it like much cooler, you could do the same thing like over here. I'm not going to touch the midtones because I'm trying to keep it as natural as possible, but I'm happy with this photo. It's nothing crazy. It's really simple editing, but I think that's what automotive photography should be about when it comes to taking photos of someone else's car, especially for free. Like, I want to give someone back their car. I don't want to give them back a version that I made. And don't get me wrong, if you're doing like graphic design, if you're trying to make a really cool moody edit, that's perfectly fine. But for the majority of people, I want to give them their car as a way to show them like, hey, your car is, and I think it's good enough. Like, I think how it looks is good enough to give you a photo that looks like that. I don't want to be like, here's your car, but it's a different color and it doesn't look anything like what you have here. It's like, no, like I took a picture of it because I liked it, so I want to give it back to you the way that I saw it. So here's the before, Here's the after. I think that's all we're gonna do for today. I need to get better at this screen recording and just talking to the camera like this anyway. So I think we'll end it there, but let me know if you have photos you want me to edit, send stuff my way. I'm actually going to be doing that. I have some people on Instagram who sent me some photos that I'm gonna go through and edit. So I'm excited to do that. Please make sure if you send me stuff, it's in RAW. A lot of people sent me JPEGs and PNGs. I can still edit it, but it's just going to be a lot more work. So yeah, this is cool. I actually really like this. I think what I'll start doing is just when I edit, I'll just put a camera on and talk through it as a way to like have more content. So thank you guys for that. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Doses.